Greetings and salutations everyone, Crimson Nero here, and welcome to Let's Play Final Fantasy, originally released for the Famicom in Japan on December 18th, 1987, and was translated into English and released on the NES in North America on July 12th, 1999. This game has seen many re-releases, and here are just a few of them and their release dates. It was released in Japan on the PlayStation 1 and on October 31st, Halloween in 2002, in Europe on March 14th, 2003, and North America on April 8th, 2003. It was then ported to the Game Boy Advance in Japan on July 29th, 2004, Australia, November 18th, 2004, North America, November 29th, 2004, Europe, December 3rd, 2004, and it even got a 20th anniversary re-release on the PlayStation Portable, which is the version I am playing, and it was released in Japan on April 19th, 2007, North America on June 26th, 2007, and in Europe on February 8th, 2008. This game right here spawned a very successful, well-known franchise, and honestly, even though I do like other Final Fantasies way more than this game, I do have to say, this particular Final Fantasy 1, has a very special place in my heart. And I'll go into that throughout the rest of our time with this game, but sit back, relax, and let's have some good old RPG, role-playing game fun as we play Final Fantasy. So, Final Fantasy 1, unlike many games in the series, actually allow you to choose every single character you have in your party. You got the warrior, the thief, the monk, the red mage, the white mage, and the black mage. All of these went on to be very popular jobs/classes in many different iterations of the Final Fantasy franchise, and appear in some of their latest games, including Final Fantasy XIV. So, considering that we have a party of 4 here, I'm actually going to name myself as the warrior, and then I'm going to be naming the other 3 characters after some of my closest friends that I just got to see at MagFest 2018 in National Harbor, Maryland, and we got to spend the entirety of the weekend together, and it was an absolute blast. I have not been able to return to MagFest in 4 years, because I was very busy with a lot of stuff. My schedule just never allowed me to actually make it up, or make it to MagFest. But this time around, I actually made it. So I got to experience it again. Got to meet some great new friends and hang out with old friends. And some of those old friends I'm going to honor here in this party as we take on Final Fantasy. We got Sam, we got Jacqueline, and we got Cyrus. And now we have an intro cutscene. The world lies shrouded in darkness. The winds die. The seas rage. The earth decays. But the people believe in a prophecy, patiently awaiting its fulfillment. When darkness veils the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. After a long journey, 4 young travelers did at last arrive. And in the hand of each was clenched a crystal. Or was clutched a crystal. Well, that was pretty. And we start things out! Ah yes, the city of Cornelia. Well, first things first, let's go into the options and make it so that dash is automatically on by default. And also change up the text speed a little bit. Gotta make that go fast. Ah, that's much better. Alrighty, so we got 500 gil, so we can upgrade ourselves, get ourselves a little bit extra equipment, some better armor, some better weapons, maybe some spells for any magic users that may be out there in your party or mine, and just this is way easier than the original Nintendo version, which you didn't even have anything on you. You walked into town and you're like, I'm basically buck naked. You might as well have been, because you didn't have any equipment, no armor, like, I don't even think you had weapons, no spells, nothing. But after many remakes and different iterations of Final Fantasy throughout the ages, from I don't know, from the Famicom to the PlayStation to the WonderSwan to the Game Boy Advance to the PlayStation Portable. I think it's on Steam. Heck, I think it's on phone too. Heck, you could basically play this on like almost anything, including your toaster now. Like, seriously, Square, I understand that this game has like a very big like spot in your company's kind of like in its history, but still though, like, you released it a lot. But hey, if that means that more people can experience Final Fantasy 1, then hey, that's alright. That was meant as a joke, I didn't mean it. Alrighty, so... The king is searching for the prophesized warriors of light! Those crystals! You must see the king at once! Welcome, travelers. I am told you carry crystals. Is this true? Yeah, I'm holding up the blue one! It is just as Lucane's prophecy foretold. When darkness veils the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. Your Majesty, we cannot be certain that these are the warriors foretold in the prophecy. You worry too much. Yet they stand before us with the crystals. I cannot dismiss this as mere coincidence. Crystal Bearers, there is a task I would ask of you. Will you not rescue my daughter, Sarah? Garland, a knight once of His Majesty's service, has abducted Princess Sarah. I ask for your aid in the name of His Highness, the King of Cornelia. Garland has taken refuge in the Chaos Shrine which lies to our north. Of course, we did attempt to save the princess ourselves. But Garland is the finest swordsman in the kingdom. We have none who can match him. I have heard that you wish to journey to the continent to our north. The bridge leading north was lost long ago, making passage impossible. If you can rescue Sarah, I will have the bridge rebuilt as a sign of my gratitude. Go now, warriors of light, and do not fail me! Hold on. So you had some of, like, your best knights, minus Garland, go and fight the supposed best knight named Garland. And yet, we just roll into town, level 1 characters that just got rolled up. We just decided our classes and our names. And next thing you know, you're just like, oh yeah, just go fight the strongest knight in all the lands. No big deal. Ah yes, good old goblins, really easy to take down no matter who you are. Actually, this is a great time to do what Final Fantasy 1 kind of requires a bit of you throughout some points in the game, and that is level grinding. Hey, it was a different time back like 30 years ago. Man, actually a lot of, there were several games that recently celebrated their 30th anniversary. Mega Man, Final Fantasy, I think Shin Megami Tensei also celebrated its 30th anniversary. Or maybe that was just Megami Tensei. Anyways. So So yeah, one of my favorite things about Final Fantasy 1 is that you can definitely tell the wizardry, the Ultima, the Dungeons and Dragons inspirations here. You see all kinds of different creatures that you can find in any good Dungeon Master's toolkit, from classic little fantasy monsters to things that are just kind of there in just fantasy films, like, I don't know, like bigger versions of existing animals, or just animals with just a tiny bit of a spin on them, like, I don't know, like a giant scorpion or something like that. As well as just you see different things like elementals. You'll see some really iconic looking monsters and bosses as we progress through the game. I mean, if you're watching this, you probably have played Final Fantasy at some point in your life, whether it's really any of them, or you've played Dungeons and Dragons like myself. Dungeons and Dragons is one of my absolute favorite games of all time, both in terms of video games and like tabletop games. I love Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm really glad that like you can really tell a lot of. You can basically kind of like equate this entire game to basically a large campaign done by a dungeon master in Dungeons and Dragons. Now, the Crazy Horse here is actually probably one of the rarer monsters in this area. Also, it's one of the tougher ones, considering Cyrus almost got knocked down. But Jacqueline's here to pick up the slack. Also, having a cure spell is fantastic. One of the cool things about Final Fantasy is the fact that because you can make your own party composition, you can make the game kind of as hard or as easy as you want. I've seen runs of people doing all white mages, and that's kind of bonkers. But this right here, the warrior, thief, white mage, and black mage, that is the archetype. That is the typical team that I choose almost every single time that I play Final Fantasy. And I've played Final Fantasy a few number of times, like all the way through. It wasn't just a matter of, oh, let me just sit down and play this for like 30 minutes. No, it was like, I'm gonna play this entire game. It's really not that long, especially some of the later versions that kind of help speed things along. But yeah, I really appreciate how you can really tell a lot of Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and the absolute love that Hironobu Sakaguchi had for wizardry and Ultima and Dragon Quest and Dungeons and Dragons, and you can just tell that he really enjoys those things from how Final Fantasy evolved. All right, a leather cap. Gigas Worms! So, definitely one of the things that improved with time when it came to some of the remakes and re-releases of Final Fantasy 1 was the fact that more and more of the game got fixed because things such as the thief's luck stat in the original, and then also I think like blindness or something like that, or maybe I'm thinking of Final Fantasy. Oh no, Cyrus! Or maybe I'm thinking of like Final Fantasy 6. Just certain earlier versions of Final Fantasy games didn't have everything programmed properly, but definitely having some of those things fixed in later editions of the game is rather nice. Ooh, those Gigas Worms took out a lot more than I thought they would in terms of HP, so... Oh no. Yeah, let's run back to town just to make sure that we have enough HP to actually take on Garland. But yeah, basically, back in some of the earlier versions of Final Fantasy, the Thief was kind of seen as the Black Sheep class, just because that the one redeeming thing it could do, which was basically like running away and stuff like that, it didn't really work properly. I think it was like this. I think it had to do with like the speed stat or something. I don't really know. I didn't play the Famicom or the Nintendo version of Final Fantasy. I played later editions. But yeah, just thieves now are kind of just seen as like they'll get. And they are typically faster, they get more critical hit chance, they're better at running away from battles, and also they can equip some like a good chunk of the weapons and stuff that the fighter can use. So yeah, fighter, I mean, like all the archetypical classes should seem pretty easy to understand. You got the fighter, so me. Heavy damage, just you take it and you dish it out. Just take a lot of damage. Sam, he's our thief, so he's going to be, like I said before, he's going to be dealing lots of critical hits, going faster in the turn order. If we ever decide to run away from a battle, then he'll probably help us with that. Jacqueline is going to be is our white mage, so she's our healer. As we sit here and revive Cyrus from beyond the grave. Yeah, the churches, you'll probably see them a little bit in the early game, but you won't really see them much beyond some of the early mid game. Because once we get things like Phoenix Downs, then hey, we can just revive people whenever! We can basically play God! And yes, then we have Cyrus, he's our black mage. Cast all the spells, just super heavy damaging spells of different elements, some debuffs, some buffs, just some good stuff overall. Plus, like, like, the Black Mage is probably one of the most iconic looking classes in terms of Final Fantasy, just because of, like, you look at, like, the blue robes, the big hats, the fact that you, in a lot of iterations, you can't see their face, so you just, like, see just darkness, and then, like, the beady yellow eyes, which look really cool. Later designs of the class change things up. I know that Final Fantasy XIV has a different look for the Black Mage, but then again, it also has kind of different-ish looks for a lot of classes. But hey, that's just different iterations of a very classic-looking class, and that's great. I didn't select either the Monk or the Red Mage. The Monk is basically just you punch things really hard. Like they are the only class in which fighting with no weapons whatsoever, not even like nunchucks or claws, is actually a good idea. Like just take everything off of him. Just give him like some simple armor and maybe a couple extra items here or there just to help boost his defense. But other than that, just he's gonna be punching stuff really hard, like the entire game through, which is great. I think he also has a fairly high critical hit chance. And finally, the Red Mage. The Red Mage is a really interesting class just because it's kind of the jack of all trades. It can equip some of the better weapons that the Warrior and the Thief can use, but it can also cast some of the spells that the White Mage and Black Mage can use, like both of them together, which is a little bit weird because normally White Magic and Black Magic don't coincide that much during the Final Fantasy series, but there are some characters, especially in later installments, where you actually have preset characters. They'll actually have the ability to use one or the other, or sometimes both. Also, one thing that was definitely very apparent in some of the earlier versions, I don't know if they kept the same kind of tactics or the same math, I guess, is that depending on what space you're in the party, like in terms of the order, like I'm at the top, then followed by Sam in slot 2, then Jacqueline in slot 3, and Cyrus in slot 4. So depending on what slot you're in, you actually will take a higher percentage of hits. So basically imagine like because I'm in the front slot, I take 50% of all hits that are single target. Sam would take 25, and then both Jacqueline and Cyrus would take 12.5% of the hits. Oh sweet, a tent. I may or may not end up using those a lot of the time. Most of the time I just go back to town. Whether that's actually good for me or not. But we got skeletons! Yeah! Curse you, He-Man! For I am Skullmageddon! That's a different character, but I don't care because they are both hilarious. Also, the encounter rate is kind of high sometimes. Also, Dia, good spell. Very good spell. And completely different from how Dia works in the Shin Megami Tensei and Persona games. Because normally Dia in SMT and Persona, that heals you instead of doing damage to dark, or to like undead or dark type enemies.
The king will have no choice but to exchange the kingdom for his daughter's life. Cornelia will be mine! Who's there? Huh, the king's lapdogs. Do you have any idea who you're messing with? You really think that you have what it takes to cross swords with me? Very well. I, Garland, will knock you all down!
Boss time! Let's get some buffs up. Do some damage. Some debuffs on Garland. Also, definitely one of the things that got more balanced as time went on with some of these games is that enemy statistics and such, and also I think player stats as well, changed a lot. Like if you look at the HP totals of bosses between the Nintendo version and the like Game Boy Advance or PSP versions, they're completely different. Sometimes even as much as like they're 10 times higher or something like that. Oh no, Cyrus, you're out of magic. Hey! That was not that bad. I mean, he's the first boss, and plus, like, we're level, what, like 4 or something? Hey, Cyrus, you leveled up, but you only got 1 HP! Oh, that actually, gives me something I need to talk about once we're done with this.
You've come to rescue me? I don't know how I can ever thank you. I am Sarah, Princess of Cornelia. That's the first time anyone's ever defeated Garland. You must allow me to show my gratitude. Please, accompany me to Castle Cornelia.
And we nod at the screen.
Thank you for returning my daughter to my side. There can be no doubt that you are the Warriors of Light from Liu Kane's prophecy. You should hear the prophecy in its entirety, if I may. When darkness veils the world, four Warriors of Light shall come. If they cannot gather the shards of light, the darkness, I believe in a thing called love, will consume all. The 4 crystals will never shine again. Now, I hear that a crystal can be found to the continent to our north. Restoring light to the crystals is our one hope of ridding the world of the monsters which plague it. I will have the bridge to the north rebuilt, as I promised. I pray that you succeed in restoring the light of the 4 crystals, and to the world.
Gee, an epic RPG where we have to restore treasures of the 4 elements. Wait a minute, this is the first game to do that! Gotta love that classic victory theme.
This lute has been entrusted to the princesses of Cornelia for many generations. When he abducted me, Garland took this lute as well. I want you to have it. It may aid you in your journey.
Well, we don't have a bard, so I guess having a lute is pretty much the next best thing. Does anybody know how to play this thing? So yeah, the thing that I remembered when Cyrus leveled up is that in this game, there are both strong and weak level ups. Strong ones, you get like really high amounts of like HP and attack and like really high numbers for your stats, and then weak level ups are a lot lower. Orders from His Highness. We're to do our part to fulfill Lucane's prophecy. Look at these guys just hammering away with their, like, 2-frame animations. I love these guys. They're adorable. Actually, a lot of the sprites in Final Fantasy are adorable. Especially in some of the later versions of the games. Yeah, that's it. Hammer away. Yeah, look at this bridge being built right before our eyes. Yeah, lay those sprites down.
What's this bridge got to do with the prophecy?
The 4 Warriors of Light are here. They're here in Cornelia. Actually, I'm in Castle Cornelia. Now I'm on the world map. Alright, let's go ahead and rest up at the inn, just because we took a little bit of damage in our fight against Garland. I didn't check to see if it healed us or not. But, oh well! It's only like 30 gil anyways, so might as well just do it while we can. Especially because this is definitely the cheapest inn we will ever come across in this game. Heck, sometimes it's actually good to just come back to Cornelia just so you can get a really cheap night's rest. Oh no, more goblins! And they only do a, like, single-digit damage. Or they just could miss completely. That works too, I guess. Oh yeah, also because this is an RPG, it's not a long one and things go relatively quickly. I might cut out later encounters or not, we'll see. Ah yes, that classic theme. And so, their quest began. And so did really long text crawls. You know, I'm just gonna let it do its thing for a second. As the 4 Warriors of Light, they felt overwhelmed by the great task destiny had placed before them.
We're loading, I swear.
They did not even know the true significance of the 4 crystals they had in their hands. Also, how did they get them in the first place? Only time will tell, or not. The crystals that once, long ago, held a light that shone so brightly. The journey, and the time for their journey had come. The time to cast off the veil of darkness and bring the world once more into light. Man, I know it's said like 1,000 times, but Nobuo Uematsu, such a good composer. I've actually seen him perform live. It was such a cool experience. That also happened at MagFest a few years ago. He was with Earthbound Papas, and oh man, hearing some classic Final Fantasy music just warmed my heart in that concert, and it was so cool. Alright guys, we beat Final Fantasy! Wait a minute, that's just the beginning! Haha! Take that, Dragon Quest! We got to save the kingdom and save the princess all in the first part of the game! Haha! Nah, I'm kidding. That was definitely a thing between contemporaries at the time, was just how fast can you save the princess? In Dragon Quest, you had to play the entire game. In Final Fantasy, you do it as the prologue. Anyways, we'll talk about this more in detail in the next episode of Let's Play Final Fantasy. I'm Crimson Nero, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, everyone, fare thee well.